Red. It's the color of roses and apples and fire trucks, except when it's not, which is quite often, actually. But still, these are basic color associations most of us have learned when we were young and have retained throughout the years. This is certainly how I think of color, which I bother to mention because I don't see color, at least not like most of you. I was born with deuteranopia. My genes fail to code for medium wavelength cones, so my brain processes light as combinations of 2 primary colors, as opposed to 3. This makes it very difficult for me to distinguish between certain hues, and unfortunately, my mother didn't keep the receipt to this particular gift, so I can't give it back. To help you understand, this is what a normal vision person would see, as opposed to me, a deuteranope. Now, I can't tell the difference, but I really do hope I did this slide right so you can see what I see. In all seriousness, though, I don't think this condition is particularly debilitating. Aside from color coordinating my clothes, I do all right. I am, however, fascinated by how much such a critical component to our perception of the world can differ so much from person to person, and oftentimes we don't even acknowledge that. Have you ever thought to wonder that a person with lifelong astigmatism likely assumed everybody else saw the world as hazy as they did, at least until the first time they tried corrective lenses? Have you ever thought to wonder, as I have, whether or not we all see in radically different colors, but have just learned to call them by the same names? Your skies may look like my grass, but we've always called the sky blue, and so are none the wiser. I can never truly know what is going on inside your head, and in the end, we are alone in our perception of the world. But language, that which separates man from beast, enables us to overcome these limitations, right? We'll consider that in Vietnamese, the colors green and blue are called by the same name, just as different shades. And while this may seem like a foreign concept, realize that what we call in English scarlet, crimson, or brick are just as easily and perhaps more conveniently called red. The distinctions we draw between hues, even these colors themselves, do not exist in real life. They're just wavelengths in the electromagnetic spectrum. And language doesn't just fail to express vision. When I say, think about feeling cold, a room such as this likely contains a vast variety of memories for what is considered cold. There's no way to standardize the sensation of cold, and while temperatures can be measured, feelings are relative and cannot. Of course, I can become more descriptive and say, imagine barren tundra, an Arctic gale ripping through the air that seeps into your every pore and leaches the heat out of your very bones. At the cost of being verbose, I've hopefully narrowed down the array of sensations being imagined. I have not, however, succeeded in producing the same thought in every person. Our experiences are still entirely and uniquely our own. Entirely and uniquely our own. But the relativity of perception is not the only shortfall of our senses. Far from it. In reality, the world is simply rife with external stimuli, and even the amazing organic supercomputers that we call brains cannot possibly hope to process them all. So, we as a species have developed what is called selective attention. This extensively studied phenomenon explains why, when reading on a plane, we eventually stop noticing the hum of the engines or the ambient murmuring of the cabin around us. We become blind to things beyond the edges of our book, as they've become part of the world's background noise, so to speak. We can experience sights, sounds, sensations, and even emotions so often that we become numb to them, both in astonishing and frightening thought. But this example of selective attention is inherent and involuntary. Attention can also be conditioned. There is an anecdote about a Native American and a city slicker in New York. As they walk down the street, the native stops, and he points out a cricket he hears chirping behind a bush. To this, his companion exclaims, "My goodness, how could you have heard that? You must have superhuman ears." Now, the native insists that his ears are in fact quite normal, and as they continue to walk, he proves his point by suddenly dropping a few coins on the street. Hearing this, the city slicker points out to his friend that someone's just lost some currency. And the native simply replies, "See, most of us can hear. It's only a matter of what we've been taught to listen for." So, we often fail to take in all that is before us, and we're unable to accurately share in our experience of the world. But what happens when we see and hear things that aren't even there? While it may be difficult to relate to the delusions of schizophrenia, and hopefully most of us don't have experience with psychoactive hallucinogens, Dr. Michelle Druin of Purdue University reports that 89% of undergraduates surveyed have experienced what is now called phantom vibration syndrome. Now, I find it hilarious that we as a society have become so dependent on our cell phones, we hallucinate that they want our attention. But if you've never felt a phantom vibration, then you most certainly have heard someone calling your name, when in actuality, no one was calling. Psychologists cite this as pareidolia, the misinterpretation of random or vague stimuli as significant and familiar. And it is for this reason that we see men on Mars and Jesus on toast. So by now, it may strike you as unsettling just how unpredictable and unreliable our senses really can be. We often fail to perceive all that is before us. We perceive some things that aren't even there. And even when we can agree that something we perceive is there, we can't even tell we're perceiving it in the same way. And language hardly makes up for these deficiencies. Well, I hope I haven't caused any existential crises. I know I nearly had one just coming up with this slideshow. You can all rest assured most of academia is fairly confident that the universe indeed exists. I am, however, hoping that the shortfalls of perception are encouragements to look at life from different angles, to realize that sometimes there's more than one correct answer, and that sometimes there's more than one valid worldview. Not everything in life can be a gray area. I've never subscribed to that school of thought. But enough things are, that expansive horizons are warranted, especially in this day and age when so many people and ideas collide with such ease. We live in a diverse place, this earth, and even though a simple change in perspective cannot solve all of its woes, it can certainly support our continued efforts to do so. So the next time an old movie is on, or you're forced to watch an ad for the umpteenth time, I ask that you think of The Native and the City Slicker, to think of phantom vibration syndrome, or the feeling cold, or the color red, and try to see whatever it is you're seeing from someone else's point of view. You just might be surprised by how much you learn about yourself and the world around you. Thank you.